Hi, one and all. This is a special sort of intervention being done at the time when Corona lockdown has put us all back in our homes. Therefore, this intervention by SJCC to intervene into a special topic for you to be enriched with topics that you normally don't deal in your regular classes. One such topic is to look at the issue of migrants that is a current hot topic happening around Corona and then this whole aspect of COVID-19. We all know when Corona-19 actually hit us, the infection, we saw the sudden outburst on all of us, but it is more and so that we should know that it hit the working class more. But we all thought it more fit to term them as the virus spreaders rather than thinking that who came by flight brought it back to this country. We now know it is a major issue that several of us who are in white collar jobs, in government sector and otherwise, could stay back at home and then look at their own lives, running their lives in the confines of their homes. But lakhs and lakhs of people who are in the unorganized sector today were also confined to their homes. It is very unfortunate that they had to suffer for no wrong that they committed in the first place, similar to what others were not responsible. But our state, its apparatus, the society which employs these unorganized sector workers and the manual workers did not care for them is what we should in common language understand. We all know the issue of migrant today. There are several hundreds of people that we looked at all our newspapers and kept looking at that they were on the streets, they were walking hundreds of kilometers, even thousands of kilometers from one place to another place. Several of our states, including the government of India, thought it was necessary that they stay back in their confines when the sudden lockdown was announced. There was no time for each one of us, more so for people who were from the other states, especially the laborers. If you take, for example, Bangalore, we know the metro construction is happening all around Bangalore. Hundreds and thousands of workers are languishing here in tin sheds, in huts, in places which are not even called homes, and then the shanties. Hundreds of them live them together. When this outbreak of COVID happened, we all should know that there was no time for them to go back. Nevertheless, the state did not make any arrangements is what is brazenly known today, and then we should know several of us are intervening from civil society, NGOs, activists, human rights groups, all others are intervening. The court has now woken up to a certain extent. In Karnataka and in Bangalore, you will see the People's Union for Civil Liberties also intervened in a petition. In the national level in Delhi, you will see a lot of organizations and individuals who have approached the Supreme Court. But many times it is unfortunate that the court or the state which is supposed to take care of people and the rights, especially of the poor, has not been able to intervene. In spite of many interventions that they made, there were also a lot of questions asked by the state, the chief ministers, the prime minister himself, then the home minister, the chief justice of the Supreme Court also had to ask a lot of remarks, and they were all done. Majorly, you will see even in Karnataka, you would have seen when the hundreds of people started walking back because there was no train, there was no movement of vehicles. People could not and did not want to stay here, had to move out. We all know it is an atrocious act that the state intervened when there were people outside this country languishing there and then they wanted to come back. The state used its apparatus, brought people on flight, paid for the tickets and brought them. But here, train stopped, buses stopped everything, and it was very unfortunate when these people had to leave. And then you had one chief minister who said they have to bear the brunt. Another chief minister saying he spoke to a group of builders or the construction lobby and said the train will start, but then immediately he said he's cancelling all the trains. These are atrocious acts by a state which need to govern the state and help people actually get back on their feet. More so ever, it is actually a violation of the human right of the people, because you cannot restrict anybody on against his wish from moving from one place to another place. More so ever, when the lockdown happened, we all know that they did not have work. In spite of the Supreme Court saying, in spite of the national government saying, or the state government saying that they need to have their labor wages given to them, food given to them, water given to them, proper shelter given to them. Nothing of these sort happened. We all should know that I am part of a lot of interventions that we are making in the state and in Bangalore especially, that we do not have proper evidence of the organized sector itself getting their own salary. Be it garment workers, sex workers, or people who are working in the other sectors. They themselves have not got. I am part of another initiative that we have done in terms of the Indian Labour Union, which has actually got about the construction workers' right to be actually done. They themselves have not gone that 2,000 rupees plus 3,000 that they said they will get in 2 months' time, which we have given for at least 100 people. This has been the bane of the society. Imagine the situation for the large number of unorganized sector people who are migrant, who came from the different states like UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Maharashtra and so on and so forth to our places, and similar to the other states that we know. It is very sad when these people wanted to go back, they were prevented by politicians, prevented by the construction lobby saying if they leave they will not get any person to work with them. They immediately wanted to get back into an age-old sort of system where it would have been bonded labor per se. Even now you will see the Migrants Act not an enforcement, because the migrants do not come through another person. They come in common, but they do not come under the confines of the law because there is no record of them being here. The state employs them, the municipal administration employs them, there are private people who employ them, which is all against all norms in society that you will see. Therefore, when we heard lot of cases that you will see, that people actually went more than whatever that we say. The recent rain that you will see in the last few days, that you saw in palace grounds in Bangalore, that one whole shed, one shanty shed that the state had built to put these migrants up when they were waiting for their travel to happen, that shed broke. They just came there in their own clothes, one set of clothes, which could not happen, and that one police person standing there to look at them. So he actually today is hero because he saved many of them. Then they pushed him to push the people all to another destination. You know, people from these different states took many hours to reach that place. It is brazen violation of all norms laid down in a democratic society and a decent society, that these people were not given time, not given proper food, not given proper shelter, and just asked to travel. In spite of the state's intervention through the court direction, they asked them for their travel money to be paid. It is very unfortunate that a modern day society which knows that 2 months, 1.5 months, 2 months, that their work is not happening, they were not paid any wages, expecting them to pay money for the travel to their hometown was actually a blot on the whole society that we talked about. On the other hand, I would also want to say that this was very sad that people who employed these workers did not even open their mouth. Civil society, the haves who actually employed them in companies, in their construction work or other work that we actually employed them in. And we know today we have seen up to a number of cases where there was a woman who walked hundreds of kilometers, gave birth to a child. She didn't stop. She again continued her journey. Such sad apathy that we seen in society. There's the story of a 13-year-old girl, Jyoti, who cycled, taking her father along with her, which is I think probably 1,100 kilometers she cycled, a 13-year-old girl. Mind you, I told you in my earlier intervention that there were people who were brought by our own state in planes back to our thing. So are these people different? Are they not being human? Are they not human beings is what I also want to relate. I looked at the newspapers, and one of the articles says till May 28 there are 3,840 Shramik specials operating, the trains that they are operating. Very happy that they carried 52 lakh passengers. You know what happened? 667 migrant workers are dead when they started traveling along with these lines. You know, these are trains, Shramik trains, which started to take one persons who waited for days together. Then they had to apply online, which many of them know. They don't know how to do it. They waited, then they applied, got somebody to do it. They had to pay bribes. People got hit. Police torture was there. Lathi charge was there. They were cheated. All of this happened in our country. From our state to another state to another state. You see, the media is filled with a lot of these images that you see of the poor, downtrodden, laborer who built homes, who built the city, who built the flyovers, who built or what not that is there for all of us. The infrastructure that is there. It is done. The moving, they've all got into all of these things. And mind you, many of these things that is there on record to see that these people were just put on trains, given 1 liter of water, a pack of food. You know, there's no pantry, there's no money. These were things that the state did not properly intervene. And I think I also always draw to the fact that there are others around them who are workers, who are not workers of that kind, could have raised their voice, written to the state, called the state, the helpline and so on and so forth, that has happened. I just want to talk about another case that we all know of 16 workers who were mowed down by a goods train that ran. And we know there was a court intervention which said, why were they going there? They were given food. They should have stayed back. So I think it is a brazen statement by the judiciary also that brought in before these sort of interventions. You know, people ask this simple question to me also, that the common man asked, why are these 16 people sleeping on the track? You should know, they could not walk on the road for 100 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers because police prevented them, the state prevented them from not going from one state to another. The real fact. They were tired, they went to sleep because you know, you and I also know that the trains were not running. So therefore you will see 16 workers. What happened? We only could see pieces of the flesh, their bread that was actually the roti that was actually lying on the tracks that we look at. You all know the recent video that is making a line on media, on online is that a young boy, 2 young boys trying to pull the bed sheet from their mother, who was actually lying on the... Initially when everybody looked at it, they thought the mother is sleeping, the boy is playing. We know the situation is very serious because investigation has been done and a little bit more done, that this lady was traveling for 3 or 4 days from one place to another place on the train. With no food to eat, I think she died on the train and then she was pushed off the train and she was on the track, on the platform. The child did not even know that the mother is dead. He was playing and then he was pouring water and then I think he was pulling. On a modern day society, we have to see this in democratic society where, you know, the state has power to do many of these things. It is sad that the migrants who build this country, they build this society, build infrastructure for the haves that is happening, today actually is in crumbles. They've lost trust in the whole society, the whole system of democracy because state has not intervened, MLAs and MPs have not intervened, the councillors have not intervened, the locals have not intervened, then you see the court has not intervened. When there were several PILs filed also, you will see that the PILs were not entertained. They were told the state is taking care. You had the Advocate General, you had the others who come and in a brazen manner tell the court that the state is taking care of them, the food is there. It is very unfortunate that till today, I also want to challenge and ask people to find out, do any of the governments across the country in India, the states, do they have numbers of the toiling workers in record, on the records or any department, for example, the Labour Department, do they have a list of all the domestic workers? the list of sex workers, the list of transgenders, the list of paurokarmikas who are in private sector, the list of people who day in and day out are coolies in the market, on the street, on people like this. They do not have. Where can you and how can you then attend to them in terms of looking at their service? The Prime Minister of this country, the Chief Minister of this state where I come from, actually brazenly say that there are a lot of things that they're doing. There's a package. Who will you give the package to? How will you give this package to when you do not have numbers? It is such a shame that we are all buying this argument as people who are not from those toiling groups. I think we had to intervene. We need to intervene, which we did not do. There were civil society groups intervening, providing food, shelter. I come from one small group called the CARE, the Center for Amenities, Rehabilitation Education, and the Indian Labour Union. We had to then chip in, take money from people, buy their dry rations and give it to people. I know of situations where the state said 2 months in advance we will give people money. They did not give. Nevertheless, imagine the plight of migrants who are not from this place. I am from Bangalore, we are all from Bangalore, many of us. You will know people who came here, they are from North Karnataka itself, many of them, from Gulbarga to Bidar to Bijapur and other places. There are a lot of people who are from other states, from UP, Maharashtra, Orissa, Jharkhand, all of these places. Imagine their plight because they do not know the local language. They could not even intervene. And you know, people got money, people actually took bribe, and they had to go. You know, one such intervention which has happened is, while this has happened, this COVID-19 was happening, and people were actually in their hometown, one such place, one shanty place, one slum which is actually there, where migrants were living from Karnataka itself, that whole shanty, the slum was broken, demolished. People now have come back who do not have any homes. I was telling you earlier the aspect of the intervention that was done, where these people went and lived in this shanty that they built. The state built them for them in Palace Road. Because of the rain and the huge wind, the shed broke. These were systems that the state actually did. But you know, when people came from outside the country, they were all put in quarantine, 5-star hotels, 3-star hotels and so on. And for the poor, quarantine centers were government places. So you see such silly interventions that the state made and boasted, and you see boastings by the state and the national governments that we are far better, far better than the other countries that are there. But I think we have to learn from a lot of interventions, and I don't think we have learned from interventions. Even while we are giving rations, we made discriminations on the basis of caste, we made on the class, we made discrimination. We did not learn from Kerala, which gave all items to the people. You will also see, I want to draw to a fact that I don't want to go into many of these aspects, but one aspect that was intervened by some courts, and I think the Supreme Court intervened in a very specific case, and today has directed state, it was long overdue. So therefore, this overdue is now pending, and then state has intervened and now talked about travel not to be asked by the railway department. Therefore, each state where they originate from or the respective state where they go from. So that was simple fact that today the people are traveling. While they are traveling, they do not have proper food, proper arrangements that we made, but it is unfortunate that we are in that category. But I want you to actually then understand that there are interventions made by civil society organizations where we have not intervened. And then, you know, I earlier mentioned the name of PUCL, the People's Union for Civil Liberties, who wrote out in Karnataka, who wrote out a letter to the Chief Justice of the Karnataka High Court. And then they raised certain matters, and then in the PUCL petition, it was converted by the CJ into a PIL, and then they drew the fact for us to understand in terms of a certain category initially who will bear more brunt, and then those were the paurokarmikas, farmers, migrant laborers, prisoners, animals, stray animals, elephants, and then the food security. So therefore, I do not want to go into all of them, but then to specifically talk about the migrant population, which is the discussion of today's topic. We put them into a lot of work aspect related issues, and then said The Karnataka High Court was very pleased to actually accept the petition of the PUCL, and then they very clearly said the migrant workers' rights are recognized, and then they directed the state to follow and ensure that the rights of migrant workers under subclause D of clause 1 of Article 19, read with Article 14 of the Constitution, are protected. So therefore, many of us had to intervene and then use this important document that all of us need to actually imbibe in us, because that's the document for us. And then because they are equal, they are here, they are toiling. The migrants have more rights, and then the state has more duties. The court made it very clear that the policy of the state government should take care of all categories of migrant workers, irrespective of the fact that they are there in their own shelters or in shelters provided by the employees or shelters provided by the state, or whether they are on streets. And I think that was a very classic way of intervention by a petition which the PUCL actually filed. And I think today the PUCL in Karnataka, which I am also part of, is intervening in terms of looking at workers' rights or human rights, because it's a right to life with dignity that we need to understand. If somebody with a white-collar job, somebody who is a doctor, engineer, or an IT worker feels that he has a right to life with dignity and to be led with like that, and I think the common man, the worker on the street who toils 8 hours to 10 hours, 15 hours, I think he also has a right more than any of us, which he has a right, more so corresponding with an obligation by the employers as well as the state, which is the government's employee. We also want to look at and then to say that the state need to look at their arrangement for foods and their family, if they are local workers or even if they are looking at that. They had to arrange free transport, which they did not want to do. And there's an MP here who also said, yes, they had to stay back because we will provide everything, but then they'll have to start work because then development will stop. And I think that is what the construction worker lobby did, and the lobby for the workers against the workers also actually did that. It is also sad that today we think of all of these aspects in terms of one state that you all know, which is talking about, and it's talked about all labor laws put to a standstill for the next 3 months. Brazen violation of the right to work, the right to leisure, the right to life, and the right to human dignity, the violation of the Constitution and all labor laws that is there in this country. In Karnataka, you also know there was a direction, and then I think it is happening, and then there is a direction where the state very simply said that it is important for us to understand that they will have to work more than 8 hours, more than 12 hours, for them to see that the economy is put back in thing. This is nothing but, again, looking at a system of bonded labor of these people and putting the brunt. Already they borne the brunt of not working for the 1.5 months, 2 months. Another 3 months or 4 months, we don't know what's going to happen. And with the intervention by the state, you will see. You have one state again which said, you should ask permission from us to actually get back our workers, which is again another violation, because you can't prevent anybody from moving from one place to another place. That said and done, when the state can't even provide decent work, decent housing, and decent health facilities to a certain section of the population. And today, I think we don't need to force workers to work, and then we don't make them slaves. And I think there's corrupt governance which we need to look at to root out these anti-labor policies and laws. We need to punish, and I think you and I need to join hands together to look at punishing the real estate and contract mafia who want these migrant people to come back and work here, which they could have protected earlier, given them their dues. Many of them are languishing. There were organizations who intervened even in metro construction site, which actually the state is taking care of, where people were just shut in garages sort of places, and then they had to work. So therefore, we need to actually intervene and to look at job, wage, social security to all workers, and to protect the rights of the poor and marginalized workers. And I think as civil society, as students, as people who have a voice to speak, and I think we need to speak. That I think is important for us to look at the larger aspect of the system of democracy in a country, the rights of the rights of the others, the duties of yourself and the rights of the others. So therefore, I always want to say that this displacement or this migration happened not because they wanted to come back from different states. Please understand. They came here because system in their states were very poor. They would have studied, they would not have studied, things would have accepted, caste is there, class is there, all of these things are openly known in our society. Therefore, if it was people who migrated from the other states to Karnataka and Bangalore, I think it was not their fault. There are people from Karnataka who have migrated to Maharashtra and all other places also. So therefore, you will see you have a right to travel from here to the other place and people from there to here. And I think there are labor laws, there is a state, there is the right that everyone has that we need to have seen. I think today, the ones that they built the city, built our lakes, looked after them, buildings, trams, whatever said and done. Today, we see them going back in a sad state of affairs, with bitterness in their heart, no protection and you will see communalism playing a large part, but major of them belong to a certain section of the population and a certain religion. We have seen attacks on them, removing them from the homes, removing them from the houses, no salary, no wages paid in spite of the court interventions. Therefore, I think as civil society we should have intervened, but many of us did not know how to go about it. Either way, that we would have seen the videos, responded, and I think I appreciate some people who like the videos and who circulate the videos, and I think if you are in that realm of affair, and I think if you have a migrant who had worked with you, if you have domestic work, if you had a construction worker working with you, under you or along with your parents and otherwise, and I think you should intervene in ways that matter, which will bring change in their lives, where you and I, if we are in a decent job that we are working, we work in 8-hour shift, we have ESI, we have Provident Fund, we have all of these sort of interventions. We have a holiday, we have a paid holiday, we have medical leave and all of these things. Imagine the large number of population who are in the unorganized sector, who do not even have an awareness on all of these things. And I think it is duty for all of us to actually look at. We all know that many of them decide that this aspect of government's announcement of money is enough for these people. It is sad, friends, that you cannot put somebody in psychological bondage, you cannot put somebody in physical bondage. Therefore, you should understand that it's a different aspect of society. These people want to live here, they worked here. When they want to go back, they need to go back. And I think you, me and the state need to intervene in their lives to see that, yes, they have a right to come here to work, they had a right to go back leaving this work. Because therefore, we cannot put a stop either through coercive methods, through kind methods, to prevent these people from going back. I just want to draw your reference to the earlier statement that I made, and then from a newspaper it says, as many as 80 passengers of Shramik special train died on board or at railway hospitals between 9th May and 27th May. And we also know the other death that I mentioned, where the 2-year-old child was tugging the bedsheet of the mother, who I think was thrown out from the train and on the platform. As per the data compiled by RPF, the total death, 11 passengers died due to comorbidities, 1 person died due to suspected COVID-19, and 3 died while trying to jump from running trains. This is the situation, friends. For remaining passengers' death, you and I have to wait for the postmortem report to come. I want to draw the fact to a sort of question or an exclamation, a para written by one of our friends, where they say these are all deaths of migrants, these are all deaths. And then we said we have treated the migrant workers very inhumanely and called them names in our own towns and attacked them, and a negligent, uncaring systematic degeneration of values, a political establishment that let these people die and fend for themselves. These, while they were here, suffering from the lockdown, and during the days that they are traveling, still traveling 3 days, 4 days, you will see no proper food at the commencement of their journey also. But we understand in words, we gave them food. State gave them food. Never mind, it was just few hours before the train journey started and there were delays in train journey starting. Imagine that 1 liter of water which I earlier mentioned. No train numbers on the tickets. SMSs at the last moment. People rushing across. What social distancing, what prevention that you will talk about is what we will talk about. But we understand that we arranged trains for them. We gave tickets for them. We made it free for them. The state is taking care of them. Many of us know, in spite of all this, many reach different destinations. Never mind, but they started the journey here. No water. I earlier mentioned we gave them 1 liter water per person. Never mind, it was hardly sufficient for even the time that they remained on that station which the train started late. There were no stops for getting water. We hear from people. There was no water stock on the train. There was no pantry on the train. No water in the toilets. But so what? They should be happy because what they get, and plus they are also used to being in the dirt without water and other facilities that they while they work. You should also know, never mind if COVID-19 guidelines of the WHO require that you have to wash your hands and keep yourselves clean with as much soap and water as possible. But these people can't, because they are also migrant workers and they are also used to that, is what the answer is. Many of us asked and many of them raised these questions, and I think I earlier mentioned that the state, courts and the common man who was there, who asked them to go? Expect them to be staying back, build buildings, tourist resorts for you and me, for our gated communities, for the rich and the super rich. And I think you and I should know that they are a captive labor. Is that the answer? Never mind if the Bonded Labour Act was abolished long ago. And this is slavery that we need to understand. We do not have that and the migrants in this thing. I earlier mentioned that the government of Karnataka also asked them to stay back. Trains cancelled. But after civil society intervened, courts intervened, then they had to resume it back. I think I want to go back to look at the change in their living conditions, the change in the situation that they come from, the way that we taught them or we treated them. I think we should change, and I again want to draw the fact that we should forget, or I think we forgot, the Constitution, which is founded on the principles of equality, liberty and fraternity, and which talked about workers' rights. And I think that change needs to be there for all of us. They are also our brothers and sisters, and I think as a humane, as a living society, it is the utmost priority for all of us to prevail upon the state, which is well within our reach, to prevail upon our systems, to restore the rights of the migrant population who are internal migrants, intrastate migrants, or interstate migrants also. And I think this opportunity by St. Joseph's College of Commerce to address all of you while you are all in the confines of your home, thinking about yourselves, families, I think it is very, very important for all of you also to think of the other human beings who stand in support of building infrastructure, in helping you and me live a life which might not be directly connected to you to know, but many of these things, if you are aware, I think it is very, very important for you to be aware of those things. And I think this opportunity should go a long way in building a humane society, a just society where human rights of all of us are actually protected, which are enshrined in the Constitution and in the international law. There are systems which can go haywire sometimes, which are not well within the reach of you, which is not in your hands and my hands and the state hands, like the one that we are facing right now. We very well understand. Corona, 3, 4, 5, and then now the lockdown, the third one, fourth one, and so on and so forth. But I think a brazen attempt by the state to just whitewash certain things, and for the local population and the others who do not form the cream of that population, I think, therefore, if you do not intervene, we will be doing a disservice. On behalf of large civil society and human rights groups, I appreciate this intervention by St. Joseph's College of Commerce while you are in this lockdown to look at aspects and subjects like this to enlighten the students who are enablers in society tomorrow. And I think that is to be appreciated, the principal and the others who actually have taken this initiative. And I want to stop here to allow you to actually let yourselves understand and help yourselves to sink in the issues that I have raised, the topics that I have spoke of, the cases that I have mentioned, the instances that I have actually cited. So I want you to ponder over it, take it in, and then respond to ways and in ways and means of responses to these lives, the lively lives of these people. I understand that it's hard for all of us to stay at home. More so, in spite of we having the withdrawal to eat, be at home with the economy and the money. But imagine the lakhs and lakhs of people who do not were to have one square meal, who are now today going back. Still people are on the way home. Still people languishing here, because if they go back there, that's another situation for some of them. So many of them are that situation. So I want to spend some time in allowing you to think and possible questions that you might want to raise in a situation like this, at this Corona-19, the COVID-19 and Corona, and a lockdown which is 4.0 and 5.0 will come, and all of these things. So therefore, I also want to then look at some possible questions that you might want to raise. And something that I also faced in a couple of days is that I am not responsible for all of these. We know, everybody start to think of these things. I am not responsible, you are not responsible. But are we not collectively responsible, because you and I are dependent on one or the other in society, especially the ones who toil hard, the Paurakarmika, the health worker, the policeman, the construction worker, the domestic worker, so on and so forth. I am refraining from mentioning all of them, but then these are all people who are there. So therefore, it is your state, the state which you think you can actually work with, you should work with. And I think you have a right, you have a duty to actually awaken yourself and then not feel simply guilty that you are not personally. But I think there are certain times when you omit in performing your duties. When you commit something directly, it is commissioning of an offence or thing. But there are certain times when you don't respond, you are also then omitting yourselves in doing certain things, and omissions. So therefore, commissioning and omissioning also is a violation, and then you doing it. The other part that I was also looking at in terms of what can we proactively do. And I think that is something that people many times ask the simple way, is there something, sir, that can we do? Ma'am, can we do something when we talk about topics like this? And I'm always confronted with these sort of questions. And I've been able to understand and answer it in a very simpler manner in saying, you do not need to go like many of us who do it on the street or in programs or in project wise that we may do. If you have an opportunity, I very well appreciate. But in simpler ways, because many of you are students, you know, you come across many people in your daily lives. The cobbler, the street vendor, the person who sells vegetables, fruits, the small wares, all of these people are on your street. Give them their dues. Don't argue, don't bargain with them. Give your domestic worker their due. 2 months, don't ask them to come. You didn't ask them to come. You don't want them to come. Because there is also one fact that I refrain from saying that I had to say this now, and I'm saying this when this sort of question is expected. You know, there is this Kent advertisement which came, which talked about the dough being mixed by bare hands. The second part of that advertisement shows another hand which is actually a different color, and say, if this was a domestic servant, you let her do this one. And then the third one is talking about the dough mixing machine itself. Such absurdity, and then sort of advertisement that we actually get it. So I think many of these things are also in the pipeline. Therefore, my intervention is to say, your intervention along with people who matter in your lives, give them their wages, give them the right, give them their salary, give them their dignity, is what I want to say. That's a simpler way that you can intervene, is what I can say. And once again, thank you all for giving me this opportunity and giving me a patient hearing. I will be available anytime on my mail, which is manorights@gmail.com. You can write to me back for any sort of clarification or any intervention that you want to make. It is manorights, MANORIGHTS @gmail.com. Thank you, the college, and thank you one and again. Thank you.